Do we know what number this is? That's the big question.
Do we number these ones?
Subspace? I guess, good point. It doesn't quite matter, does it?
Well, I mean, it matters in some cosmic sense, but like not, maybe more
This is
literally.
16, I guess. It matters only so that we can mention 15,
Which was a good one that people should go back and look at.
It's good that they're numbered for people to go find them, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I still can't believe we named last episode Jedi :
Look, man.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, welcome back. It's a Subspace transmission from We Were Gamers. This is our sub pod where JJ
Hello.
and I, Andy, get together and talk about anything and possibly everything, depending on how long we do this for. Star Trek.
Yes.
My kids have started saying Star Wars weird. They say Star Wars when they put the emphasis on the second one. So I wanted to see how that sounds when I say Star Trek. I don't think it's good.
Sounds bad.
Hi, buddy. Welcome back.
Hey, man. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, we are here beaming this into you, the audience's ear holes, and there have been momentous events since you last heard from us.
There's a little bit of a shift.
Star Trek.
Yeah. Welcome, Star Trek Picard. If you didn't catch episode 15 of Subspace Transmissions, we did some Picard prep based on the list of episodes Star Trek had produced of things you should probably watch. Most of those have panned out, although I feel like maybe there should have been a longer list.
Yeah. I mean, I guess most of it was like, oh, okay, like these are things that I guess the show is going to deal with. I don't know that they have dealt with them directly.
Not most of them yet.
The episodes that we have seen.
There seems to be some stuff missing. Oh, okay. Well, here we are. We are 3 episodes in. We're going to cover Picard 1 through 3 as much as we... This is going to be a long one. Picard 1 through 3. Wow. So if you haven't watched them yet and you really don't want spoilers, I don't think we can hold back from spoilers because there's some big ones.
Yeah, we got to talk about stuff.
You got to talk about them. And like there's some right off the bat in that show that like I would...
You won't... we'll talk about it and then because we will have seen the second and third episode sometimes, you can then immediately spoil stuff.
Yeah.
Which, anyway, so...
And I mean, some of it is like first episode stuff that just, it's a spoiler because it's a cool surprise, but it's in the first few minutes. Anyway, watch Picard before you listen to this.
Yep.
So that you can enjoy as much as we did. Man, this thing is barnstorming the world. I have seen some people tweet about it that are like, hey, I haven't watched any Star Trek since TNG. Watch this, love it. The only negative review I saw was from like People magazine. They're like, how will Picard recover from its disastrous opening? And literally that was the only one.
Disastrous?
I don't, buddy.
Did they see the same episode as us?
Look, I can understand being like, after the first episode and being like,
okay, certainly right, the first episode
but it's got a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how you go with disastrous.
Yeah, exactly. Disastrous. What? The first episode is a little down tempo, let's say. It's not like high action Marvel superhero stuff, but that's not really what
there's action in there. There's a gigantic explosion at the end of that episode.
Yeah, of course. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff that happens. I
saw one tweet that was, I'm not used to not being Disappointed.
Wow. Harsh. Maybe that says more about the second season of Discovery than it does.
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll do that.
I saw a lot of people doing the man, I like this so much better than Discovery thing.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. We'll eventually get there, but Picard's more important to me personally.
Same.
So I needed to know. Boy, yeah. Jean-Luc is old.
Dude. Yeah. I feel like now looking at him in this show, and like he's in makeup and stuff, you know?
Sure.
Like they're making him look good, and he looks old.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh no, Patrick Stewart is like turning into John Williams. We need to treasure him while he's still here.
Oh, good point. Yeah. I have something controversial to say about John Williams.
Okay.
His best music may be behind him.
That's not controversial.
Okay.
I don't think. The
right.
man is like 90. I think it's fair to say
he's
his
still
best
making music, but like I listen to the soundtracks. I love soundtracks. I listen to them all the time, quite a bit. I've just listened to them. That's what I do. Some people, you know, that's my thinking music is soundtracks. Anyway, those newer ones compared to those original ones, and even the prequels, my God, not as good.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say, you know, okay, also, it's like this, right? The original, the score for A New Hope, right? The first we're talking about Star Wars on a freaking Star Trek podcast.
I know.
How do we do this?
I know.
It's fair to say, look, whatever. It's fair to say that original movie, A New Hope, is one of the all-time best soundtracks, period.
I would say
any movie, anything. And so you can't measure his other output against the best thing anyone is likely to ever produce.
Look, controversial statement 2. The original trilogy, the music gets better each movie.
Oh, that is controversial then.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic music in the first one. Fantastic. We're talking like 9.7 to 9.8 to 9.9. Not like 7 to 8 to 9. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get back to Star Trek.
Okay. Yeah. No. No, this is a Star Trek podcast on starting now.
All right. So,
Andrew, I just want to, before I'm going to go off the rails a little bit more.
All right, here we go.
Something that features prominently in these 3 episodes that I could not get over. It's all over my notes because I couldn't avoid it. Hey, they filmed a bunch of this at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Good. You mentioned. I was going to wait until we got to Starfleet.
No, I literally wrote it like 5 times every time I saw it in a shot. I was like, oh, I know where that is. That's the Anaheim Convention Center. Oh, it's the Anaheim Convention Center. I've been to this parking structure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that shot in season 3.
Very distracting.
This shot in season 3 when they're like, we're back at Starfleet headquarters. I'm like, that's literally just the glass walls of the Anaheim Convention Center.
It's like, you're at the courtyard. I know where that is.
Yeah. You know, I like, though, that they dressed up one of the little areas where Rafi and he are talking in that 3rd episode.
Yes.
They really dressed that little section of the convention center up with a lot more plants.
Yeah, because I was looking at it and I'm like, that's the convention center. Where is this? That's not.
So if you
and then it's like, oh, they must have added this because that or like composite shotted it.
It's not composite. It's to the left of. So when you're staring at the front of the convention center, to the left where that little alcoves are, that people are always trading pins and stuff.
Right? No. I knew that area. So I was just like, there were not that many plants there when I was there.
Yeah. So what you do is you set up your camera frame. And then you have a monitor up and you say to the set dressing people, like, this is my frame, make this look like a courtyard with, a bunch of stuff.
Okay, so then they brought in plants.
Yeah, so they bring in plants. They brought in like an overhang. You can see like how dappled they are and in the shade and stuff. So they bring in that overhang. It makes it look like it's like an alcove. So that is movie magic at its best, in my opinion. Like, that's one of the fun things when you know an area and you're like, how did they do that? And then you also know.
I know
like,
that
how
was
they did
like
that.
literally that was literally me being like, I know those benches. That's the Anaheim Convention Center for sure.
Oh
but
yeah.
Where is this? I can't picture these plants.
My best moment came in episode 1 for this show when Picard literally sat down in between the basketball arena and the new building.
Yep. I was like,
and
I
was
know
like,
where that
I
is.
have sat on that bench.
Yep. Oh yeah. And multiple times, man. It's a good bench right there.
That's where a lot of the food is. For those people that have listened to our main pod, we go to BlizzCon every year. I have been to the convention center for WonderCon as well. And a lot of people go to D23 at this convention center, which is the Disney thing. It's right by Disneyland. It's a very popular convention center. I think it might be the largest in Southern California, at least. I know it's bigger than LA and San Diego. So
I don't know if it's actually bigger than the San Diego Convention Center, but it's definitely newer.
It is physically bigger. I don't know if it's as functionally bigger, but it's physically bigger.
Got it.
So it's quite a popular area, and for those of us that grew up in Orange County, we know it pretty well. And
the convention is there.
Yeah, a lot of Picard is like gonna be this way. I think in the first season they didn't know how much money they were gonna make on this show, so they had to use local as much as they could. You know,
a lot of the shots of specifically we were talking about it, but most of the shots of Picard at Starfleet headquarters are there. So when we talk about that stuff happening, you can just picture the Anaheim Convention Center.
Unless they use aerial shots of San Francisco that are all composite shots and probably super digital.
Right.
Which, Starfleet is supposed to be in San Francisco, so.
Yes, it is. And I do enjoy they do the shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's just full of solar panels.
Yeah.
It's like that's a bad place with solar panels. It's foggy there all the time.
Yeah.
There's never going to be any sun on those.
I think only the movies ever showed that place encased in fog. And that was because we were getting attacked by a giant space alien probe.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get in because...
maybe the whales were in charge of the fog, and that's why there's no fog left in San Francisco in the future. Because there's no more whales.
Or global warming happened so well that they...
There was World War III, so...
That's true, there was. That's right.
Maybe there's no... We haven't gotten a really good shot in the prime timeline of Earth in a while. Maybe there's no ice caps.
You get some in this show.
Okay, we're going to have to go back and look if there's ice caps.
From space. Yeah, actually, good point. I totally didn't think about that.
Yeah.
All right,
but this is going to be off the rails all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay, did you watch the short trek that leads into Picard?
No, and I also was going to mention to you, there is apparently, I found this out 2 days ago, a prequel comic and a concurrent comic for this that are canon.
What?
Yep.
I didn't know about the comics, but I did watch that short trek.
Okay.
It is not essential, really.
Okay, all right.
But it is good in that it tells like a quick little story about some school children.
Oh, okay.
On the day of the attack.
No, they're on Mars?
No, they're not.
Okay, they're not on Mars. Whew.
People they know are on Mars.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's sad.
Okay. Maybe I might not watch that.
Yeah, but if people want a little context about what's going on,
okay,
and
or what has gone on before this show starts,
right? So when this show started, and I saw that attack, like Picard's dreaming of the attack or whatever, like at the start of the show, I already knew what it was. Okay. So that's it can be helpful in that way for people who don't know.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Cold open is just Picard on his chateau, right?
Mm-hmm.
And immediately we were like, there are Romulans here.
Yeah.
What is up with this?
Yeah.
Again, answered in the prequel comic, I guess.
Oh, okay. See, that's another one I don't know. I don't know where he got these Romulan friends.
It's pretty well explained through the show, I think, which is they indebted themselves to him for trying to, or at least saving some of the Romulan people.
Right. It definitely was clear, like, his work with trying to save Romulans and stuff is how they became friends.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't know the specific story.
Sure. Yeah. And there's no direct, like, hey, we met on this planet and then they helped me, evacuate this many people on these, like, we didn't get that.
And to be fair, I didn't need it.
No.
I don't think.
No.
Although I would have liked to have known by the third episode because some stuff starts popping off. Actually, it starts happening
in the second episode when Laris busts out all her old equipment and Zobon's like,
what?
Yeah, Zobon's like, just let her do her thing.
Yeah. And I was like, who are these people again?
Yeah.
So, but they just seem like nice, caretaker type people.
Like, hey, Picard's gotten to the point that he probably needs help, and these two people have committed to, you did such a good thing for us. We're doing this for you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chateau Picard now has a replicator.
I know, right?
And
no Robert.
Yeah, no mention of Robert or family or anybody. Interestingly.
Yeah, I wonder
Not
how much
even a
of
picture.
that. Yeah, I know. It kind of a bummer, right? You'd think he would talk about his brother a little, or
his nephew.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it was budget, and then how much of it was like, okay, we don't want to have to explain who this is. Like,
yeah, we don't.
We want to tell our story. We don't want to have to like relitigate his family and like
Good point.
Bring up a character only to shove him off to the side.
Good point. Yeah, it just bogs things down, I guess. Okay.
We can hope that the nephew is off living a wonderful, happy life somewhere.
We know the nephew is not doing that.
Do we?
House fire.
Oh, right. Yeah, we do know that. Dang.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact that we've covered it a couple times.
I forgot.
It's all good. All right. Back to Picard again.
Yay. So
pretty clearly he's in kind of a dour mood and mellow place, and
he's feeling bad about himself.
He just seems down. We don't really know why. There's no explanation of the Romulans, and then thankfully this episode kicks into, we need some exposition.
Guys, let's introduce some new characters.
And also what happened through a TV interview.
Yeah.
So do we meet Daj first?
I think we meet Daj first, actually. Okay. And you see her, and she's talking with her boyfriend. And they're having a good old time. He goes to get her some wine, and
pew pew.
The bad guys show up out of nowhere because this is Star Trek and they have teleporters. And then she turns into Jason Bourne and murders everyone
after they kill her boyfriend.
Right. They throw a knife into her boyfriend's chest. She freaks out and then turns into Jason Bourne and murders everyone.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's like, okay, something's up here.
They yell about, the people are yelling about her activating or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, she's activating. And I was like, it's like sleeper cell,
So my first impression of this, and we get an answer to what she is pretty quickly, I guess,
right,
if you believe the answer, so it's not a big deal. But my first impression was like, okay, they made us watch all that Borg stuff, so maybe she's like a Borg sleeper.
Right, that was my thought also.
Yeah, which I thought it would have been super cool. Like Borg sleepers all over the planet.
Yeah, we still aren't like 1,000% sure that what they tell us is true.
Dude, so we're going to get to like that at the end here of what we think is going on and all that.
We will, for sure. I just thought it was cool that all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm like literally the same plot as Jason Bourne, where it's like, oh man, I can like beat the crap out of people. How do I know how to do this? She calls her mom and freaks out.
Does she?
Yeah,
does her mom exist?
Dude, I don't know. Based on what we saw in that third episode, probably not, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing not.
And then Picard gets ambush interviewed.
Which we as the viewer saw coming a mile away. Don't know how he didn't.
Yeah. I'll do this work to promote, the good work I've been doing with my charity here for the Romulan, to help poor Romulans recover from the terrible disaster. This is my charitable talk on the TV, and then all of a sudden,
specifically mentioned to Zhaban, like, hey, she's not going to ask me about the thing, right? Oh no, dude. Of course not. She promised.
It's literally like the first thing that you would expect that someone would do, right? Don't ever agree to interviews like this.
Well, there's a running through line in this show that I kind of like, which is like Picard's a little bit overly stoked on hubris, and he always has been, and now people aren't putting up with it anymore.
Well, also, I think he's a bit naive isn't the right word, but he's a bit idealistic.
Oh, he always was, right?
Right, and he always was. And instead of his idealism working out, it is now conflicting with a bunch of people who have kind of thrown those ideals aside, probably.
They've adopted a more pragmatic view of the world.
Right. And so, so then we come into conflict here with Picard and what he thinks is right, and we
start to get a glimpse of what the Federation has become.
Right.
So then it's exposition time when the reporter goes into exactly everything that's happened between now and why he's been thrown out of Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, there was a shipyard built on Mars.
I think there always had been.
Or it was at least created and converted for building ships.
Right.
To evacuate the Romulan people from their star system.
Because their sun was going to go supernova.
Exactly. Which is a plot point that I kind of really like because it ties the Prime universe to the Kelvin universe.
Is that a thing that happened in the Kelvin universe?
That's why the Eric Bana bad guy jumped into the Kelvin universe, is because their star went supernova and Spock tried to save it and it didn't work out.
Right, and that's why they're there.
Right. So it happens in both universes now, just at different times with different people trying to have made the sacrifice, and it not panning out in both universes is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is definitely I hadn't made that connection to the Kelvin stuff, actually, but I knew it was a thing that had happened in that universe because they talk about it like in that movie. I just didn't make that connection, and that is a cool thing to have done, I think. Yeah. And definitely that thematically it works kind of similarly in that it kind of doesn't go great for everyone involved.
Yeah, and it leads to the Romulans becoming kind of a hermit people that are causing problems sometimes and stuff like that.
Right, almost like refugee status, but not quite. And so
they're trying to build enough ships to go evacuate the Romulan people based on Picard's decision that this is the right thing to do, and they've agreed to it, and they've changed over these places to help create these ships using what they call synths in this universe version, which amounts to basically androids, right? But maybe less than data androids.
So they call them also synthetics, I think. And they're essentially like maybe lower quality androids from what data was, right?
It seems like maybe in most people's opinions, they are sentient enough, but not, they treat them like robots, but they're not.
They treat them like robots, yeah.
But they don't treat them well, which, no. I mean, we're like stabbing into Cylon territory here, it sounds like. Almost.
Definitely, I think, actually. And there's hard to say like how far they're going. Like, I don't know that. I think after the attack, certainly you get some of the like we hate Cylon stuff.
Yeah, I mean, then there's the Romulan stuff that we got to get into later. But so the androids, we don't know why, but they go nuts or don't go nuts or something, and they what?
As far as this episode is concerned, there is an attack buy the synthetics on this shipyard. They destroy everything and all the ships that they were building. Kill a bunch of people. Most of Mars, right? Kill a bunch of people.
10,000 people.
Everything is bad. The Federation then flips out, bans synthetics everywhere, and decides not to go save the Romulans because all the ships blew up.
Yeah. And it turns out, I guess, that it was already on dodgy ground on saving the Romulans.
Right. So we learned that in the second episode, I think. That
second and third,
the admirals were actually like having to fight back a bunch of opposition to saving the Romulans within the Federation. 14
species were going to leave the Federation if they saved the Romulan people. It's like, wow, what a coalition you've built here. You know, we get the opinion that maybe like the Federation has expanded beyond its original charter in terms of letting people in because of, you know, like the Dominion War and other things where they needed allies, and maybe some of them don't live up to the original Starfleet ideals.
Yeah, totally. I think this show thus far, or of these 3 episodes, has kind of just been a lot of like, hey, you remember that Starfleet you remember? Maybe it's not as good as you thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes a thing gets old, and the bureaucracy of it keeps it functioning, but maybe the idealism of it has washed away a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's like when you've washed a shirt a million times, right? It starts to, the graphic on it fades, even though it still fits
fades a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Picard flips out on the reporter and says, like, I left Starfleet because Starfleet wasn't Starfleet. You guys are all a bunch of jag-offs. Get out of my house.
Yeah, he storms off the interview, making himself look bad, obviously making Starfleet look bad, but, you know,
Made Starfleet look pretty bad, made himself look a little bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get the idea that, you know, okay, this Romulan thing didn't pan out. He had bet everything on it. And his, you know, best friend Data being a synth, he probably doesn't feel like synths were the problem.
Certainly.
So he's got 2 issues with Starfleet then, you know, like.
Right. Of course.
And somebody somewhere equating the 2 and saying, well, synths did this, so we can't rescue the Romulan. You know, there's a lot of that going on with him that's like, doesn't make any sense. So. He's out. He's done. He quits Starfleet and retires to his chateau to make vino.
and then the girl shows up.
Bang! Right on the doorstep.
At his in his vineyard.
Yep. Find Picard. He'll keep you safe. Okay. She says everything in my body says I'll be safe with you.
That's a weird thing to say, but okay.
Yeah. How do you know who I am?
Hello.
Well, because the interview, but.
Right.
Well timed, I guess.
Yeah. So we get more lore dumping here a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah. She likes to kind of explain, I was accepted into the Daystrom Institute, which becomes important later.
Which is a synthetic brain scan, it's a research institute for androids.
For androids, exactly.
Done.
And, you know, I've been working here and these people attacked me and then, oh my God, what happened? And, and the look is Laris is the female.
Laris is the female Romulan.
The look she gives Picard when she hands the girl tea is good.
She might be my favorite character so far.
She's very good.
She's very good. The Romulans, I do not remember the Romulans being, like, super duper British before. But they are extremely British now.
Actually, British or, like, Irish?
Yeah, you're right. More maybe a little. She's definitely Irish, right?
She's definitely Irish. Is what I'm saying.
But Zhaban reminds me of a Scotsman quite a bit.
Yeah,
especially with his like more mellow accent and attitude. But then the younger Romulans are definitely like Brits.
Not right, and I think they do a good job here. We get to the 3rd episode, and she goes, "Oh, he can't he won't talk anyway because he's a northerner." You know, and like basically like making fun of the fact that he's a different area.
She points
Romulan.
At his forehead ridge, and she's like, "He's from the north."
Yeah, exactly.
Can't be trusted.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, all right, take it easy, Lars.
I know, right?
We're all friends here. Don't make him spit acid at me.
Well,
I would never, ever, ever stand in front of a Romulan after all these episodes, by the way.
Yeah, is everyone in all Romulans everywhere just chomping on holding like acid canisters in their mouth or something? That's not like a biological thing.
I thought that their blood was acid. Am I wrong?
Their blood is green. I don't know that it's acid though.
Where's the acid coming from?
I assume they just have like the false tooth cyanide capsule thing. That's how I'm
pretty sure it's their blood.
Then how do they just like cough up a bunch of blood? You can't just do that on command.
I mean, if you bite your lip or something, I don't know.
I assumed that it was like the spy thing where like I will eat this cyanide capsule and before you can learn stuff from me.
We should look that up because it's a new thing as far as I know.
Well, so it's certainly new in this show because I don't ever remember any of the like other Romulan people doing this.
I know their blood is green in the other shows, right? We've seen that before, especially in what was it, in Nemesis? You know, everyone's Nemesis. Bleeding green stuff everywhere, but there's no acid spitting in that as far as I remember. But then the stuff they spit in this is green like their blood. So I thought it was like, oh, my blood is in my mouth, I'm going to spit it on you. They all seem to know what to do when they got spit on, but you're right, he kind of spit on himself and then disappeared, this dude, later on. I mean, not all in the first episode, but like...
But all of them then disappear, right? Like, you know, there's a cover-up going on.
Yeah, right.
Even in this episode, right. So...
Okay, we're out of order. It's not... Yep. I mean, we'll get there, but...
So, you know, Picard has this conversation with the girl and then, you know, takes her to her room or whatever. Daj. Yes, we learn her name, Daj.
She leaves in the middle of the night.
So, hold on, though. Did you enjoy the, like, Picard and Data dreams that kind of have gone on here?
They only happen in the first episode, don't they?
Yeah, or there's, like, re-shots of them in the second one, I think. But it's mostly the first episode, yeah.
I didn't mind them. I'm glad we are clued in later that they are not like premonition or anything like that.
Right.
Like yes. Data wasn't having premonition. He's not like speaking to them through dreams, right? It's just Picard having PTSD, basically.
Right. Yes. Actually, yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Which he describes later. He said, you know, the friend I've been mourning for a decade there's some chance that he or his offspring or some part of him is alive, and like I have to deal with that because I think about it every day, right? And so I don't mind the little dreams here. I was worried in the first episode that was going to be the type of show that we were in, and there was going to be like premonitions and all this kind of stuff.
It was going to get Twin Peaksy.
Yeah, and then by the second one, it's pretty clear. Like, okay, no, that's not what happened. Somebody had access to Data's neural files and used the information in there to make stuff happen.
Yeah, you know, and because this is where you know, he wakes up and then goes to Starfleet HQ and pulls out that painting.
Right. Oh yeah.
And you learn that this girl looks like Data's daughter.
Yeah, he made a painting called Daughter, which is super mysterious. But then by the third episode, we know
not actually.
It's not like mysterious. Somebody used Data's drawing from his files to create these androids.
Right. Yeah. And this is also where we get our first shots of the Anaheim Convention Center. But also they have you know, Picard and Daj are, you know, he looked at all this stuff and talked with her there. And then they're getting ready to like leave or go somewhere, and these guys show up in the stairs in the parking garage, basically.
Yeah,
which I don't know what purpose it has in Starfleet days. But
well, they reskinned it, right? It didn't look exactly like a parking garage, but
that's where it was.
Yep.
And then they're and Dodge like explodes, and there's like a bunch of people get shot, and
she turns into Jason Bourne again.
Right.
She saves Picard from getting killed by these, which here we learn are Romulan assassins, basically.
Right. We didn't know they were Romulan at this point, and then
No.
after this, you're like, oh, because the helmet comes off.
The helmet comes off after Dodge aces one of them. He spits acid at Dodge. It hits the rifle and her.
Right.
So she's probably screwed anyway, but it hits the rifle and the rifle overloads and explodes.
Right.
And then Picard is left on the rooftop and told there was an explosion, but we don't know why because it's just you running around on the feeds.
Yeah, there's just like the feed of you running around. What happened?
Which for 5 minutes they're trying to be like, well, maybe there was like cloaking or something, and you just sit there thinking to yourself like, no, clearly it's a cover-up.
Yeah, like this isn't that hard, you guys. Like,
yeah.
Trying to find a science explanation for this, it's like the obvious one.
I honestly think that like Laris has a look of like, sure, Picard, yeah, a cloaking device, right? Yeah, and then by episode 2, you're kind of like, oh, Laris knows what's going on.
It's the in episode 1, you definitely get a sense of like, oh no, like he's senile. And it's like she's like humoring him. It's like, okay, buddy, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, in episode 3, they bring it up again for another reason, so there's a chance.
It's true.
So,
and the thing we get at the end here is Picard goes and visits this Daystrom Institute and meets with the scientist Dr. Girardi. I don't remember her first name.
Because Penny? Dr. Oh, man.
This actress is also super familiar to me, but I don't know where I know her from.
I don't remember. I've seen her in stuff before.
She's certainly been in stuff before because she looked super familiar to me.
Dr. what?
Girardi?
I don't know how you even spell that.
Okay. Agnes Girardi.
Agnes?
J-U-R, Agnes, Dr. Agnes Girardi.
Where'd you pick that up?
IMDb.
Oh. Maybe if I put in Dr. Agnes. I can't spell Agnes. Well, it's a good day.
She's been in a bunch of TV stuff, but I think probably the thing I recognize her from is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, yeah, she was the lead in that. What's her name? What's the actress's name?
She was Kim Pine in that.
No, what's the actress's name?
The actress's name is Allison Pill, yes.
Okay. Girardi, J. That's why I couldn't spell it right.
Oh, yeah, what, did you think it was a D?
I thought it was like Girardi, like G-I-R.
Oh, no, yeah, J-U-R.
Allison Pill. She's very good in this, by the way.
Yeah, I like her so far.
She was in Goon. That's where I know her from.
Goon, yes, also Goon, for sure.
I kind of really like
I said,
movie.
I've seen her in stuff.
In a silly way, I like her in that. I like that movie, and obviously
that movie
she's
is
good
a silly
in that
movie, so...
Yeah. She has a different hair color in that film. That's why I didn't remember her. Wow, we get off track pretty quickly.
Yeah, all right, so... Picard talks to Dr. Girardi, and then it is lore and exposition time.
Oh, it's like part 2, right? So part 1 was what happened in between. Okay, we kind of get it. There will be more parts filled in later. This is, again, we need to fill in the parts.
Yeah, let's talk about things that are going to be related to this show. We need to explain stuff to you.
Right.
Here we go. And you get a lot of the talk about what happened with the synthetics here and how they got banned. And this research institute, while prestigious, doesn't get to do a lot of work anymore.
Yeah, basically everything they do has to be simulated in a computer.
Right. And they can't produce any real synthetics or androids or anything like that.
But their whole job was to try and produce... The Holy Grail, she says, was to try and produce biological androids, which to me is like...
Right.
So you're making people.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Which I feel like we have a very cheap way of doing.
I mean, certainly it's less expensive than this, probably. But that science doesn't care about cost, Andrew. That's not what science
True,
is
but
about.
it's interesting because like it's the world of Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Cloning, replicators, all this stuff, and they've chosen this route of like synthetic androids that are biological. You know, like the distinction here is very.
If you could use the replicator to create people, Andrew, that'd be pretty good.
I know. I'm just saying, like the distinction of what they're trying to go for with this storyline is a very thin hairline of a story that you're gonna have to buy into because.
I just mean it's like, do you believe that they could have the technology to do something like this? They have the technology to do transporters, so yeah, sure.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure there's cloning. It's just it's a very fine definition of what they're trying to go for here because the only thing that they're trying to say is like they're trying to create humans with positronic brains, basically.
Well, I don't know that they even say that. I don't know that they even. I think they're saying they're trying to create artificial biological humans. Right? They don't even say positronic brains.
Well, they have to be, otherwise they'd just be cloning people.
Well, the technique she mentions is some kind of like fractional cloning thing or whatever.
Based on using neurons from data?
Right.
This one was the hardest part for me to get behind.
Okay.
That's why I'm slowing us down here, because I'm trying to see if you think that it's a... They swing for the fences in this show real hard.
The science in all Star Trek is basically magic.
The science part is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like after we find out what they're trying to create, the integration to the other parts of the story is a big old Babe Ruth point, and we'll get to it. But
sure. Like how did these two daughters?
Well, and what it means to the Romulans and all this kind of stuff is. No,
we don't know, man. That's like that's the story of the show.
Sure. I look, I'm in. I just want to stop for a minute and like really dig here for what they're trying to make, because if you have a better understanding of it than me, maybe I'll get more out of it. But like for now, it's kind of like, to me, it's the only way I could sort through it was they're trying to create supercomputer brained people.
Yeah, there certainly is some kind of potential implication here that like maybe they're training them to be super soldiers or something.
Yeah,
but again, it would be good if we could just get a scene of like two of the Romulans saying, "Here's our plan. Yes, this is a good plan," but we don't get that.
Right. Okay.
So it's hard to know.
Yeah, it's hard to know what's exactly happening,
especially since we know that the Romulans are way into secrecy and lying to each other about their goals all the time.
And melodrama.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We'll get to that too. Oh my god.
Episode 2 and 3 especially. Yeah.
Oh man. So bad. Okay.
And so like the big reveal at the end of the episode here is like, well, the way this method of creating these biological androids or whatever, it always produces two. So that like there are twins essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the other one is still out there.
Yay, we have a show to do.
Yay, she's not dead even though she died in the first episode.
Yeah. Well, the other one seems like they touch on it later. It basically seems like Daj was manufactured to get Picard to find the other one or something.
I didn't get that sense.
Oh, okay. Because Agnes says in the third episode here, hey, she was like created 3 years ago. She didn't ever go to any school or anything else, and it seems like her creation was just in order to like exist and then find you, you know?
Yeah. I could be wrong. I don't really understand why. Yeah, see, it's kind of there's a little bit of I don't really understand why she was on Earth. So.
There's some sort of hand waving happening, and I'm kind of confused by it. Unless it's just like we are left with the facts as presented because they're trying to give us the character's perspective of not knowing. And then we will know later. You know what I mean?
I expect they are going to have to address why the other one was on, or why Daj was on Earth, because since we find out in the second episode very quickly that Daj's sister is nowhere near Earth.
We find out at the end of episode 1. We see her on the Borg cube.
Oh, that's right. We do see her on the Borg cube at the end of episode 1. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we know that there was no reason, since they were created as twins, in theory, they would have been together.
Right.
So why did one of them get sent? And that's a question that we have not had answered.
Yes. Agnes alludes to it in 3, where she says, it seems like she was put here for a reason. And obviously our reasoning is, because we're watching Picard, that she was put there to find Picard. So why she was put there to find Picard is a big question.
Right.
Okay.
Episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2. Laris's episode. Part 1.
It starts with the big flashback sort of showing the events of the Mars attack.
Mars attacks.
More human perspective, or android perspective, whatever.
Yeah.
We
on the ground perspective.
Android murder all those people and do some stuff. And
hey, JJ, what's brown and sticky?
Bad jokes.
I don't understand why you would tell an android a joke that bad.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't, if they're treating them like, I mean, I guess the workers seem very resentful of all of the synthetic workers there. It's like they're mad at them for like taking their job or something.
I think so. I think it's just like they've become a tool. You know, like there's no way they have to have some sort of labor, right?
Right. And the one of them even mentions that it's like, hey, do you want to go out there and do that? And he's like, no. And so then it's like, well, yeah, that's why we have these guys.
Right. So as any tool, right? Eventually, after the tool is no longer new, people it just gets thrown back in the box,
right?
And it gets dinged up, and you don't care about it as much. And so I feel like we're seeing like synthetics have become this tool workforce that is just thrown around and mistreated, and
right.
That amounts to bad jokes at their expense, I guess. Which don't last long. Woo!
Nope. And then some stuff happens, and it goes bad.
It looks like he gets some sort of download in his eyes, whatever this F8 thing is.
Yeah. Not clear what that is.
And then he aces the whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
Of
very sad.
This world, or whatever.
And then
turns the defenses on Mars.
Back on Mars, and explosions begin.
One would hope that now that we know that this could happen, that whenever Starfleet's created on Earth, they won't be allowed to turn the satellites down. Like it'll be hardwired into the satellite, right? Like now we know. Just don't do it.
But who cares about that, Andrew? Now let's go watch the new show, CSI Picard, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Sure. Yeah, that was good for me.
Laris and Picard show up in the flat that Daj first went Jason Bourne in. And man, what a thing, man. I don't even know where to start on this whole scene.
The hand waving is completely unnecessary. They did not. I don't mind it. It's kind of stupid.
It is.
Laris busts out a molecular reconstructor
or something.
Where
they called it something like that.
It uses molecular echoes to reenact the scenes in a room, which Picard says, those are illegal in the Federation.
Didn't you know Romulan methods of molecular whatever are illegal in the Federation?
And then he says, they're not very reliable either. And she goes, that's what we wanted you to think. And we get
the whole thing.
We get the first inclination that she is Tal Shiar, which for Star Trek fans means she's super secret police.
Romulan secret police, yes.
Right, which is cool. I like that they brought that up.
They don't bring it up here, but you definitely get some that she's into stuff and knows things.
It turns out they didn't need the molecular reconstruction because they scrubbed it.
Didn't help. It didn't help.
They scrubbed it at very high peril to themselves.
They had to use some kind of radiation whose name I forgot, and then their magic radiation to get rid of the magic molecular echoes or whatever.
Let me write your show for you. Don't introduce the magic molecular thing, so you don't have to introduce the magic other thing. Just
magic molecular cleaner.
Just have her wander around the apartment and say, like, I don't see any evidence. We should look at the computer.
Or have her wander around the apartment and go, I think I know what happened here, and then do the like the CSI thing where they like flash back and show you the scene and then go, wait, why isn't the evidence that's supposed to be here? Yeah. And then that's all you have to do.
Yeah. Basically, we just needed to get to the computer so she could show us that she knew a lot of stuff about people scrubbing things out of computers. JJ, yes. If you just delete the registry, all files look the same.
Andrew, what?
Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that if you just delete the registry, you can't tell the difference between a DocX and an XLS?
I mean, Andrew, this is the future, so I guess their computers work real different than ours.
Yeah, apparently there's a Unity file structure where everything was created in FileMaker Pro or something.
I mean, there is a thing in Windows computers that if you go in and erase it, your computer won't know how to boot, and so you'll have no files because you'll have no computer.
Sure, I mean, yeah, and you could also delete the registry, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't like friggin' run command into the files. You know what I mean?
Well, it actually probably would mean that because the file system wouldn't know where the files start and begin.
Right.
But usually that doesn't change the fact that you could run a tool and rebuild that registry, which is totally a thing that is possible.
The files are still there.
Yeah. Unless you take a magnet and you wipe it over the hard drive, then they're super gone.
You can't magnet wipe a Star Trek hard drive.
Yeah, totally, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, these were Romulans, though. Andrew,
yeah,
so I'm sure
they have their magic tools.
Exactly. See, they have real magnets. You know, the Federation has only been used.
JJ, how do you set up your personal assistant, JJ?
They're off in this household because I don't want Amazon listening to me.
Hey, just like in my house. So our personal assistants wouldn't be able to confuse us for our twin sister on incoming calls.
Yeah. Like I said, this is CSI Picard in the way that all those CSI shows are also this stupid, right? Those police procedural shows also do this kind of stuff where they're like
the distillation
looking through a room and like all of a sudden it's like, what is this? And it's like a hair on a bookcase that is in the other side of the house from the crime. And like someone just notices this hair. This is a red hair. The killer was gray haired. Dun dun dun. And it's like someone else was in the house. This isn't evidence. You people are terrible police. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And just like that, this also makes no sense.
Every bit of this could have been solved a different way. It really could.
It really could have.
They went the most like, we gotta have tech solve this problem thing.
I know.
Right?
I know. We are ragging on this scene very hard, but I enjoyed it.
We're ragging on this scene because it stands out as the least connected to like
to the rest of the show.
And the rest of the show, and in general, like the way Star Trek works. Like there's a lot of magic hand waving. But usually there's a lot of people solving the problem and then being like, this is the magic hand wave we need to do now that we've gone through the people problem.
Right.
You know? And so, like, this show is not TNG, but it feels sometimes like TNG a little bit, right? Like, a little bit. Not a lot of it.
A little bit.
But this scene stands out as just like, what are we doing here? Let's just move on. Just wait, we did not need any of this. Anyway, so CSI is over, thankfully. We get the idea that Laris is finally, like, this is how they introduced that Laris is Tal Shiar, basically.
Right.
And they could have.
And then Laris brings up the Jod Vash.
Oh no, JJ.
Ultra super double secret hyper probation Romulan secret police.
If the secret police had to be afraid of the secret police, these were the secret police they'd be afraid of.
They're a myth, Andrew. They don't even exist.
Zobon is just like, this is dumb. This is a story for school children. We
tell the story to kids. Come on, this isn't real. Nuh-uh, Zobon, they're real, okay?
Yeah. Come on. Why don't you believe? It's like,
and they really don't like androids. We also learned that. That's their thing. They don't like them.
They have a super deep, dark secret that no one can ever know. And it's the biggest secret in the whole universe. They don't like androids.
That's the secret.
That's the secret. But also, it's probably deeper than that.
Probably.
Because the whole show is going to be based around it. Oh, man. There's exposition dump in the first episode, but this exposition dump was certainly something.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I love that we're ragging on it, but it's fine. It's not that bad. It's just...
Yeah, it was totally fine.
It was fine.
Also, we learned that these androids must be pretty good because they're boning. You see Dodge's sister and this Romulan guy who we now have been introduced to, but we don't really know much about, who we learned more about in this episode.
Right. What's his name?
Great question.
Because she says it one time in episode 3, and he introduces himself in episode 1.
Yeah,
at the end of that one. And I don't.
We learned some more stuff about him in episode 3, but you don't really learn much about him.
Yeah,
just that he works for the Romulans because he's Romulan, and also is on this Borg cube.
Yeah, she certainly is. Narek?
I would believe you if that told me that was a name of a Romulan.
Narek. His name is Narek. I have no idea what his sister's name is. I'm not that with it.
Yeah. Well, Anyway, we'll get to her in a sec. Hold on. But he clearly has some kind of relationship with this girl, Asha?
Soji?
Who
are we talking about?
The other...
The other android? The sister?
The twin sister.
Soji.
Yeah.
Soji
okay.
Asha?
Maybe.
Might be Soji Asha.
Okay.
Soji Asha, yes.
Yes. Okay. So he has some kind of relationship with her. And we get to see some of her work on the cube. She's going through and looking at old dead Borgs and doing... Can't really tell what.
There's something going on called the Borg Reclamation Project.
Right. We hear that brought up here.
So this is starting to be where, why the other stuff is fine. Why the silly Romulan stuff that we get let in on through exposition and Laris is, interesting. Mm-hmm. Is because the Romulans hate synthetic life, basically. Right. They hate it.
And we got that.
It's
that's
banned.
Been a thing.
They don't have... Laris says they don't have AI. All their computers are number crunching computers only.
Right.
Which is kind of impressively backwards, Right. The sense of all Starfleet ships are basically AI run.
Right.
So what they're doing with the Borg cube, where technology is integrated with the Borg and essentially almost like androids, right?
Well, I mean, yeah,
what they're doing there with the collapsed Borg cube is very curious and interesting in its curiosity to me of okay, here's where to me the beginning of the swinging for the fences is happening, because if the story is going to be that deep that it runs to the core of the Romulan Empire and some sort of huge historical decision they made, this could be shaking the fabric of Star Trek big. Could
maybe.
Be. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll see.
Also, I don't get the impression that the Romulans have much of an empire anymore.
Well, clearly they don't. Right, but it would retroactively inform
exactly.
the shows.
So, interesting. Undoubtedly, we will learn more about it. We do learn more about it here in episode 3, but I don't think we learn too much more about it here in episode 2.
No, episode 2 involves the information that we get from all that CSI stuff. Right. Picard, then, being the good boy, takes all his information back to Starfleet.
Well, so actually before that, we get... don't we get Picard talking to his doctor?
Is that in episode 2? Yeah, because he wants to be
fit for interstellar
service according to Starfleet regulations.
Right.
Which is the doctor. I love that they brought in that actor.
Also, it's the same guy.
Is it?
Yes. I recognized him from the early episode. It looks like the same actor. If it's not him, it is a great facsimile of an older him.
Did they? I mean, because I know him. He's a very famous actor.
I'm pretty sure it's him. From when he was on Earth and visited his doctor before.
Huh. Okay.
Because cool. I wrote in my notes like, oh, it's his old friend.
Yeah.
Like
right on. Okay. I don't remember that episode very well. And I didn't take note of that actor being important, but that's super cool that they brought him back because I would imagine that he's the same guy.
Yeah, it was like a little, hey, here it is, It's just, they didn't make a big deal about it. It was clear he was his doctor. That was all you needed to know.
Yeah.
And he has some bad news.
Yeah, this is kind of sad, especially because it kind of puts the show on either one course where we have to say there's going to be magic or, well... It puts us on 3 courses.
Not necessarily, course, yeah.
Maybe we just need to find Beverly Crusher and get her to solve this problem.
There you go.
Because she solves every other problem. I don't understand why she couldn't solve this one.
Or, maybe if Beverly Crusher won't do it, Dr. Pulaski would.
Sure. Yeah. We could do
Probably
that.
Not, though.
Probably not.
No, I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay, so he basically gives Picard the news that there's an abnormality in his brain.
His parietal lobe.
Yeah.
And
which we assume is cancer or a tumor.
Something.
Although they're sufficiently vague that it could be something remaining from the Borg.
Or it could be something from his, what's the syndrome that he has?
Oh.
Picard, when he was young, had a thing that made all his hair fall out.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be like some re-onset of that thing, which who knows?
What's weird is that they didn't bring up his heart.
Right.
Like, that would be the thing I would have thought. Rheumatic syndrome?
Yeah, that's the one.
Rheumatic syndrome.
The one he had
degenerative neurological disorder causing deterioration of synaptic pathways. Condition causes confusion, delusions, and eventually death. So it's probably related to that.
You would assume, right?
Yeah, and so I would assume that is part of this. It's interesting though. He got stabbed in the heart, and they're like, "No, your heart's fine still," probably because it got replaced, right?
Yeah, they fixed it up with good clone ones or whatever. Don't worry.
So I would guess you're right that it's related to this, and of course, this is the thing I was talking about earlier, where they come back to. Hey, are you having tough time sleeping? Are you irritable like you were in an interview on TV?
Are you crazy?
Are you starting to see things maybe that aren't there that other people don't see?
Like we saw the security footage of you running around for no reason?
They do an okay job of making you think that might be a thing, but then they just like shoot it in the foot 5 seconds later when you go to Star Trek Spec Ops.
Oh man! All right, well, hold on. I want to point out one thing though. There's a shot as he like leaves and comes into Starfleet headquarters where there's like a bunch of gates in a row, that like transporter gates.
You mean where the securities are for BlizzCon?
Yeah. Also, it reminded me so much of a book that had nothing to do with Star Trek, because the way transporters have always been used in Star Trek is kind of just like you could just show up wherever. Like, why didn't he just beam into the Admiral's office?
One would hope that they don't allow beaming into Starfleet after how many times Starfleet's been messed up.
I just am more like the gateway where it's like, oh, we beam. It's like the public transporter gateways,
Yeah.
There's a book called the Hyperion Contos is the Hyperion? I think it's just called Hyperion, the first one.
Okay.
It's a series. Anyway, they literally have this exact construct of like a row of 5 gates in a row, and all of them are like doorways to other worlds. It's literally the same thing. Like that shot for shot appeared in my mind while reading that book.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up.
It's a weird thing too. I wonder if it's like a security measure. And so I had to think about that.
Probably, right?
I had to think about it because if you're beaming from somewhere, you don't need a pad. So like if you were going to beam directly in front of Starfleet headquarters,
yeah, you're just going to appear.
You just beam in front of it wherever they allow beaming, right? Like one would assume you can't beam into the offices because there's stuff in there.
Or like you can't beam into the like secret vaults or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
So they've got some sort of anti-beaming technology. So to me, that was set up in the way to look like there's no way past those devices. If you look at the shot, those devices ring that whole shot. So you can't just walk through. Well, I mean, I guess you could walk through, but
maybe
it seems like it's some sort of security thing to me.
Yeah.
I love the shot, though. He walks in and you can see Hall A in the background.
Yep.
Of the convention center. And he walks up to the
information
help desk that you can get your convention map at. And he's like, I have an appointment with the Admiral.
He's like,
yeah, what's your name?
Who are you? Cool story, bro.
Yeah. Oh, I'm Picard. P-I-C-A-R-D.
He has to spell it. And the guy's like, all right, old man, let me type your name.
Oh, cool. Nice to see you up and around, old man.
Clearly not super happy that he's there.
Yeah. Well, he just doesn't know who he is. It's just kind of like speaks to the meeting he has next, right? Like no one knows who this guy is anymore. He's been gone for 15 years. There's probably a whole crop of cadets that, might learn about him in school, I guess.
Maybe. And, and like you said, Picard, being the Boy Scout that he is, takes all his stuff to Starfleet and is like, look, there is stuff going on here. It's bad. The Romulans are operating openly on Earth. This is not good for us. And the Admiral's like, who are you? Get out of here with this.
No, she doesn't say, who are you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah. That's what I meant. It's like, who do you think you are? I'm not doing this for you.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. Well, if you think me being an admiral is too much, you can demote me to captain.
She's like,
that'll be fine.
And this is the second time we hear you have the most hubris of anyone.
The lady is like incensed.
Yeah.
Like, no, get out of here.
You get out.
Doing that.
You don't belong here. I physically hate being in your presence.
Is like, we didn't always see eye to eye. Yeah, no kidding. We still don't. Get out.
Yeah. You wanted to disband the Federation to save Romulans. I don't like them. No one else likes them. We did all we could for them. You need to go away. Go back to your farm.
Right.
So that was it was not a good meeting.
Immediately after that, I was like, this admiral has some kind of other agenda here. And I wasn't right.
I didn't get the impression that she had an agenda. She just didn't like
so
Picard.
I wasn't. I wrote the notes as I was watching the show, I didn't know the scene that happens literally right after this.
Yeah.
Where we find out that there is someone who does have an agenda.
Right, because she says, yeah, just doing my due diligence. I got to contact the security office and say someone saw Romulans around here.
And this lady who is Vulcan?
She's Vulcan, yes.
Or is she?
No, she's Vulcan.
Is she, though?
She's Vulcan.
Is she?
She's Vulcan.
We've seen people that aren't be what they say they are.
No, I mean, you haven't yet.
Yeah, okay, fine. We see this Vulcan lady being like, if there were Romulans here, I would know.
Yeah.
And then you would know because I would tell you.
Because I am the best security Commodore of all time.
Yeah, and I'm into telling you all my secrets for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not keeping any other ones. Okay, thanks, Admiral Lady. Can you send in obvious undercover Romulan agent number 2, please?
Yeah.
And then she comes in and gets yelled at by the security lady for basically messing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the security lady was in charge of this Romulan mission. And multiple times I looked at this girl's ears and thought, they look weird.
Mm-hmm.
something about them is off.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out
she's Romulan.
They're a little off.
Yeah, you find that out in the next. You find that out in the next episode
because she's yeah. She has a bunch of like Vulcan. This is Commodore O I'm talking about. She has like a bunch of Vulcan stuff in her office.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure they're trying to establish her as Vulcan. They do a good job.
I think she's secretly Romulan.
I don't think so.
Everyone in this episode is secretly Romulan.
But they're all Romulans. All of Starfleet is Romulan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And then we get into like, this is the beginning of how convoluted this is going to get. Because
then Picard shows up in the rocks somewhere and meets a lady and she's not happy with it. And then that's the end of the episode.
Is that the end of it?
Yeah.
No, he communicates with her before the end of the episode, but I don't think he meets her until the next one.
Okay. I just had the like, who is this lady as my last comment.
He taps his communicator and says he needs to talk to Rafi, but don't hang up.
Okay. Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, because the next episode is where we really get into who all those people were. But
yeah. Man,
whoa. Okay. I don't know. How did you feel about 2? I felt more interested in the story at the end of 2 than I was at the end of 1. But I felt like 2 started to deviate from Star Trek in a little bit of a way. Not like from Star Trek, but like, hey, maybe this isn't going to be TNG. Or not like TNG, but like have the same goals as TNG, right? This is going to be more of a melodrama.
I think that was clear to me from the outset, so I wasn't terribly like disheartened by that or anything. But certainly 2 is where the story starts picking up, and there's like threads you can pick at and stuff going on, and like it's actually a thing that's happening now, as opposed to just like stuff they're telling us about.
Right. Okay. We start with a flashback at the beginning of 3?
We do.
A big one?
So he must have gone and seen her at the end of episode 2, because you start at the beginning of episode 3 with a flashback of him and her.
Oh yeah, you're probably right then.
Yeah. So he goes and meets her, and like she's mad about it. I watched them all in one go.
So I didn't watch the first one in one, but I watched the next 2 back to back.
He goes and meets this woman, Rafi, who I don't even know if we get the name at this point.
Yeah.
And she's mad about seeing him, but he brings the wine, so she's like, okay, and then says, fine, and then that's the end of the episode. And then episode 3 opens with...
hold on, then we find out that Rizzo is Romulan in episode 2, then. The lieutenant from Earth.
You see her talking to Narek, but she's human in that holo conversation.
He calls her sister in the holo.
He calls her sister in 3. I don't think he calls her sister in 2.
No, I'm pretty sure in the holo thing, she talks about her being her little brother.
I don't remember if that was the case.
Okay, well, she's Romulan, and that's her little brother, Narek, being the one that is following Soji around the Borg cube.
It was clear she was Romulan because she's talking to another Romulan on the secret Romulan base area, and she's clearly in charge of this guy. So,
did we find out in 2 or 3 about what's going on in the Borg cube? I think we find out in 3 more. Okay,
it's definitely 3. 3 has a lot of Borg stuff.
Okay, what did we miss in 2? God, man.
I think we got all of it.
Okay.
The opening stuff in 3 is the backstory on Picard and Rafi and
why she hates Picard.
And like a nice little bit of political commentary there, JL. Do you like that she calls him JL?
No, I hate it.
I also did not like it.
I hate it because she doesn't stop calling him JL.
She doesn't call him JL anymore in the present, I think.
Yes, she does. She doesn't say anything to him initially, but when she's talking to him at the table and saying how her life has fallen apart, she calls him JL.
Does she again?
Yeah, and
I don't like it.
Something about it is off.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Something about Rafi to me is off, and I don't know what it is.
overly familiar, I think, is the problem I have with it.
Also,
like, were
this
they a
begins...
thing? Maybe, unless they were a thing. Maybe they were a thing,
Maybe
and that's why it's weird.
Maybe they were a thing. Maybe they were a thing. I don't know, but
who knows?
Also, I don't like the cussing. She just starts like openly the F-bomb comes in 2 from the Admiral, and then Rafi is just like openly cussing all the time. And that's to me where we're starting to be like, well, I guess the TNG environment is dead, right? Like,
I mean, this show doesn't have to be on broadcast TV so they can swear.
I understand that. But it feels out of place. Picard never cusses, and so like
he didn't yet.
I know that, but like I wouldn't personally cuss around Picard. You know what I mean? I would be like, I can't. It's still like walking around somebody's parents. You'd be like, I cannot behave that way in front of, JJ's parents.
I think that some of this is a little more of their attempt to sort of show you that, like, hey, the Federation is kind of tarnished and worn here, and it's a little gritty and real.
Yeah.
Even if I don't necessarily like it.
I don't necessarily... Rafi's going to have to win me over. The whole, like, she's a drug addict thing, but she's also a lot of super genius, and, like...
So, like, yeah, it's not clear, first off, what her deal is. Like, we get the nice backstory of her and Picard, and you find out what happened, why he actually did retire from Starfleet.
Well, so the attack happens. They try to come up with a new plan for rescuing the Romulans, and Federation says no. He says, well, then you have to fire me.
It sounds like he and Rafi had come up with a plan that would meet all their demands, but still allow them to save, some or most or whatever of the Romulans, using these extra ships or whatever. And Rafi had done all this work, and then the admirals were like, no, we're going to ban all this stuff, get out of here. And then Picard was like,
yeah, because they were going to try and use synthetics to help them do it.
Right. And then Picard says, well, either you let me do this or I'm resigning right now. They're like, okay, give us the resignation.
Yeah.
And, so he's...
and then Rafi gets fired.
So that's a little yikes. But then we also learned, like, then the next sentence, it was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Man. Yikes.
It was 14 years ago, and he never checked in on her one time.
Right, yeah. It's like...
This to me... See, like,
not good friends.
But that's the thing to me, is like, did they have a relationship? If so, you'd think like he would have checked in on her. Like, Picard... This doesn't line up to me, and that's the problem with it, is like... It doesn't line up. People cursing around Picard doesn't line up, because he's not that type of guy that you would be like, F you, Picard, or like...
Hey,
he wouldn't have checked in on this person. I don't know. Some of this doesn't line up to me.
So the cursing stuff doesn't bother me. I didn't even think about it for 10 seconds until you brought it up.
Fine.
But definitely her and her character don't line up with what's happening in this show right now. And I'm confused as to what her motivation is here, because she doesn't like him. And
no.
So why does she help him? She tells him to get lost and then helps him anyway.
Well, it helps him find a ship, because she says she's not going to help him. But he knows that she can't help herself when he says there's a conspiracy.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's like... It almost feels like he's like preying on her mental illness or something in a weird way. And it's kind of... It feels bad.
Something about Rafi and Picard and Rafi's addictions, and something is off and feels off, and they're going to need to fix it for me to not be like weirded by it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Also, I particularly think, like, in episode 2 and 3 here, the Romulans their conversations are super lengthy every time.
Well, they're giving you that lore and exposition, man.
Well, but like, just like Rizzo talking to Narek is just so long and like so melodramatic.
That stuff happens at the end of episode 3, but yes.
I know, but it is long and melodramatic. And then, like, is Rafi, I don't know if she's overacting or like, but she's like super on the ragged edge in terms of.
All the Romulan people are overacting for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up with Rafi. I don't.
Okay, so
I don't know.
I like that we're on the same page a little bit with like, I don't know about this Rafi situation.
The big thing that comes up next is, we get some more of Soji on the ship, and we learn that they are really trying to like rehab Borg. That's what it's about.
They're removing the Borg slowly from the cube.
And they're removing the Borg from the people that were assimilated.
But they're also like doing stuff with the cube. We only see Soji's job, which is to removing the people from the cube.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff happening in the cube too. Oh,
certainly. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole big old thing,
Yeah.
But we get the first glimpse of Hugh here, I think.
After we see all that stuff, she speaks to one of the aliens in their own language, and Hugh's like, That's super cool. And we see that Hugh is the project director.
Yeah, he calls himself the director of the Borg Reclamation Project.
Which is cool.
Yes.
Why the Romulans are so involved with it, if it's run by an ex-Borg, XB, by the way. They call them XB.
Oh, do they? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so they're nameless when they're Borg that haven't been converted yet. Then they're XB until they remember who they are. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
But aboard the cube, she's trying to figure stuff out about why the Romulans were assimilated, and this was the only batch of Romulans ever assimilated.
I think she says that later.
No, Hugh says that.
Oh, right. Hugh says that to her.
These are the only batch of Romulans ever assimilated. She's trying to get in and talk to one of them because she thinks that person's the key to understanding what happened. And we find out that there's a bunch of drones that are damaged in terms of their personalities, right? They're not able to come back from being drones. But all of them are Romulan.
Right.
So something weird has happened there.
But before we get too much cool stuff, we have to go meet someone else.
Maybe my second favorite character.
I enjoyed this whole part.
I like Laris quite a bit, but this guy's vying for second place.
And we meet first. We meet the EMH, who is great.
He has an EMH and an ENH.
So I was going to ask this question because I thought I heard him refer to ENH also.
Yeah.
But what is the N? Navigation?
Yes. He has basically like a crew of holograms to help him.
Of himself?
Run this ship. Yes, of himself that have different accents than him.
It is good.
It's really good.
The medical hologram. It wasn't clear to me that there were different holograms.
Yeah.
But I guess it is.
They were wearing different clothes.
They were wearing different. Yeah. They were wearing different clothes.
So he has an EMH that he clearly disdains.
Emergency medical hologram. Yes, clearly he disdains.
That, of course, looks like him, so it's funny that he hates it so much.
Yeah.
That he has pull a piece of shrapnel out of him when we meet him, and then just kicks off the bridge.
While he is smoking and drinking.
Oh, so good. This is a contact brought to Picard by Rafi.
Yes. This is the pilot that Picard was looking for.
Right. And he has some sort of unregistered ship or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you could tell he's kind of like a down and out Starfleet officer.
And Picard even makes that notice. Like, he's like, hey, this ship is all spick and span in Starfleet style, and everything is, regulation here. What's your deal? He mentions the name of some ship and then is like, but I'm not Starfleet. And later we learn his captain was killed in front of him.
His captain and that ship, it sounds like, because he said the ship was erased.
That's the cover-up. That's what that means, right?
Yeah.
They covered up the fact that whatever happened.
La Sirena. Oh no, that's the name of his current ship.
Yeah, I think. Oh, they don't say that, but that might be what it is.
The Siren?
Well, I mean, that's what it sounds like. But
yeah.
This
and
guy
the
Rios
ship
is
that
rad.
he was in
That's what I want to say.
Was the Ibn Majid?
You're reading stuff on a wiki, and you should stop.
I like it. I want to know more about this dude because.
Well, then watch the show.
So he was XO of that ship that he said bad things happened on, and then was erased by Starfleet.
Right, like
and
a
that,
black op gone wrong, kind of, and then
he clearly enjoyed
they didn't even
being
give us
XO.
our funerals.
Yeah, exactly.
Francis X. Hummel is going to have to take control of the Rock here to get some justice for these soldiers.
Yeah, I guess so.
But he is great.
He's great.
Him arguing with the ENH in his quarters as he's trying to read the book is also great. That whole scene is wonderful.
Yes. There is no longer a navigational emergency. Go away. Oh, don't do it. Oh, no.
Yeah, he's like, no. Oh! He just disappears. So great. Love that guy. Excited to see more of him as the show goes on.
He is the type of thing I expected from this show. When I saw, okay, it's going to be like a more of a down and out universe because Picard's not in Starfleet anymore. We're going to get some sort of like down and out Starfleet officers.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted.
He shows up and he is having what it would be like medical surgery while he is drinking.
Throws whiskey on his wound in the 22nd century or whatever it is.
He has the replicator beam whiskey in front of him.
Yeah. So he throws it on the wound. And then
he offers some to Picard. So
very good.
Great scene. Best scene in the whole episode.
Very
for sure.
good. We get Dr. O.
Oh, actually, second best scene.
Or not Dr. O. That's from a different show.
Dr. Girardi.
Dr. Girardi.
Oh, sorry. Doesn't show up yet because Picard is getting ready to leave. No.
Commodore O visits Dr. Girardi first, right?
Oh, yes. Commodore O visits Dr. Girardi.
And says, like, tell me everything about Picard.
And the actress who I'm liking more as this show goes on.
Oh, yeah. She's good.
Is like, oh, shit. You can see the look on her face. She's like, oh, this is bad.
I like that later on. She's like, I'm a terrible liar, so I just told her everything.
Sorry.
I couldn't. It's just better this way.
And you can just see his face. He's like, I understand.
It's okay. Don't worry. Which you knew as soon as she said something to Commodore O, we were going to have
people
the next
show
scene.
Up at Picard's house.
Yep. People show up at Picard's house and try to kill him.
And my note on this scene is like, wow, they have a lot of guns stored around their house.
Yeah.
Because Loris and Zhaban and Picard reach underneath tables and pull out blasters and start going down on people.
Yeah, the phaser has disappeared, hasn't it?
Well, these are Romulans, so they keep Romulan guns for some reason.
Okay.
But I don't know why, I understand why Loris and Zhaban stash guns all over the house.
Sure.
That I get.
Yeah.
It's like, but wouldn't it have been easier to get phasers, and so then wouldn't you just use those?
Yeah.
Instead of like Romulan pistols or whatever?
Yeah.
But okay, whatever. Well, after this, they're set, man. They got so many guns.
They even show a shot of like, we have all the guns lined up.
We got rifles. We got the handguns.
Zhaban's like piling the dead bodies in the corner.
Yeah, man.
And we get back to the thing we were talking about earlier with the northerner in the chair.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing we were talking about.
They try to get info out of him, and basically all he says is that Soji is the destroyer.
Right. He calls her the destroyer.
And then acid spit everywhere.
Right. Yep.
Cut back to the Borg
Soji,
cube in Soji.
on the Borg. Yep. And Hugh takes her down to see the live reclamation prisoners here.
Right. The ones that are having trouble reacclimating, which are all Romulan. And she speaks to Ramda?
I didn't get the name of the...
Doesn't matter. She basically says, all this information in a huge lore dump, and then says she doesn't know how she knew it about Romulans and the ships they were brought in on and how they were assimilated.
And so you get the feeling here that this Borg cube assimilated these people. She said it was an Imperial ship. So that's like a key that this was something important to the Romulan government or whatever.
Right.
And
I can't get
some number of passengers on the ship.
Yeah.
And first off, we don't know how she knows any of this.
But then this was the last assimilation before the cube collapsed.
Right.
And so that means to me that this is not Hugh's cube.
No, I don't think that. It's definitely not. I didn't get that impression.
Because Hugh's cube would have been way, way, way before this. And the Borg that they are removing stuff from, they said, have been in hibernation for 14 years. Lines up perfectly with the destruction of that planet and the supernova and all that sort of stuff. And then this cube collapses at the same time.
I didn't hear the 14-year thing.
Yeah, so when they're working on removing the stuff from the one she speaks the language to, the Nameless.
Oh, okay, that was episode 2.
In episode 2?
Yes.
I guess?
Yes.
They mention that that Borg has been in stasis for 14 years.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
Yes. So there's some sort of connection. Man, they're really...
They want you to think there's a connection for sure.
They're building it. They're building this connection, which is what I was saying earlier. They're really swinging for the fence on some sort of backstory with the Romulans and synthetics that is going to be pretty big in terms of its scope, right? I don't know if it'll be big in terms of like how it affects the Star Trek universe or whatever, but it seems like the Borg, synthetics, and the Romulans have this weird triad thing that are starting
they're
to
related
here.
Somehow. Yeah.
And it all stems from the same point in time, right? With Laris's suggestion, I think, or somebody else's suggestion that maybe... No, it's Rafi's suggestion that someone somewhere may have sabotaged... And she thinks it might have been the Romulans sabotaged the rescue of the Romulans. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Rafi does make that suggestion here.
Yeah.
In this episode, and so she talks with this lady, using this who is using this tarot puzzle or something, and then mentions that Daj is. Which are you? I know you from tomorrow. All this kind of cryptic stuff.
Which sister are you? She says to her.
Which sister are you? Yep. And then, Daj starts freaking out.
And she also says she's the destroyer.
Right. She calls her the destroyer. All the people in the room, all the damaged, unfunctional, less functional Borg people.
Romulans, yeah.
Of Romulans all look at her when they say the destroyer.
Yeah, it was a cool moment.
It was a cool thing.
Hugh's freaking out.
Yep, Hugh's losing it, and the lady grabs a sidearm from one of the Romulan guards, and looks like she's going to shoot herself. And
Jason Bourne too.
Sorry, I almost called her Daj again. Soji intervenes and grabs the blaster out of her hand, Jason Bourne style, and Hugh gets super pissed at the guard. And then is like, secure your weapons, you idiots! Quick, let's get this girl out of here before anyone sees what happened. So I wonder, is Hugh in on it? It feels like he is, right?
No, I think Hugh doesn't, because he said, how'd you know all that stuff about the Romulan ship and stuff like that?
And all that stuff. Yeah,
I think he is in
on her being an android thing. He doesn't know that.
No, I don't think so. I think he's fully in on just trying to save all these Borg people, and that's kind of his thing. I think he's going to get dragged into...
Well, everyone is, probably.
I hope he is, because,
because you get the next scene
she's got to be connected to the Borg somehow, right?
Yeah.
She would only have known some of that info if she were or had been connected to the cube.
Yeah.
So something's up with that.
The next scene is where we get her calling her mom, and then halfway through the conversation, she falls asleep.
Clearly some sort of code happened when she said Dodge is getting a dog.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like, what's the, like the mnemonic trigger or whatever that puts her to sleep.
Right.
And then the scene after that, we get our good friend Narek, and who is the other Romulan lady?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Rizzo? Narissa?
Is it Rizzo? Yes.
Yeah, Narissa Rizzo.
And his sister, Narek, and his sister Rizzo. She is on the cube now and looks Romulan. Doesn't.
Yeah, he says, "You got your ears back."
Gave up her Starfleet pretense there, and she impresses on him that his like more subtle method or whatever is not working.
It's almost cringeworthy how over dramatic the Romulans are in this show so far.
She's going to have to do the murder now. And he's like, "Oh, you approved this. It's your fault for it being bad because you told me I could do it."
No, he says you know, you're the one that botched the thing on Earth, so maybe you give me some more time.
Yeah. So we'll see what that's about.
Jad Vash.
I want to point out, this is the point when I realized that they were brother and sister. I didn't know that before now. It's like, I just have a note that's like, oh my God, she's his sister. Like, what? Whoa.
Yeah.
Jad Vash, man.
Jad Vash. Okay.
And then we get the best scene in the whole show at the very end.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one you've been waiting for since you saw it in the trailer. The one you've been
waiting for. Yeah, right. Exactly.
What's her face shows up again. Rafi says she's coming along because she wants to go to Free Cloud.
Right, the place they're going, Free Cloud. For some reason, she wants to go there, and she's not interested in saying what's happening.
They're also taking the Dr. Girardi.
Right. So at the end of the fight, there's a call with the captain Rios, and
he's like,
"Hey, we're ready to go.
Also, we need to go. Now.
Also we need to go." And the captain's like, "Hey, some sources told me that stuff is bad for you. Also, it's going to be bad for us if we don't leave soon."
Yeah.
And then the doctor is like, "Hey, you have to take me while the comm badge is open so he can hear her too." And is like, "You have to take me because I'm an expert on all this stuff and blah blah blah. We have to go now." And I won't be a burden, I promise. And Picard's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, let's go." And they teleport up there, and Rafi is there, and she's like, I want to go to Free Cloud for my own inscrutable reasons.
Also, what you need is on Free Cloud, so we're going together.
And we're not friends though.
All right, and then, you get to say it, man. Enjoy.
And then you start hearing the music. And then Picard says...
The music, dude.
The music, I know. And then Picard says, "Engage." And you see the ship turn, and then you hear the theme from TNG, and it takes off. So good!
Wow.
Yeah. I just wrote in huge letters, "the theme."
Yep.
Oh, man, so good.
Well, we didn't even talk about... We should do it at the end.
The music in this show has actually been really great throughout, actually.
We've talked about every opening. We did the opening credits thing one time. What do you think of the opening credits of this show? We talked about Discovery. I like those.
Sure. It's very different from those other ones.
It's very different than... It took the Discovery change of like, oh, this is kind of like disjointed and like has a bunch of other images. It's not like ships in space and stuff like that. But it had the Discovery in it moving around.
Right.
This is a whole new animal with like a broken piece of glass.
Mm-hmm.
And the music is not anything like any of the shows.
Well, so, I mean, the music is like this show, though. So I was going to say that the opening theme and the music that plays and some of the other music from episode 3 and 2 in particular, I didn't notice it as much in the first one, but maybe there just was less. I'm not sure. The music has been really great. And talking about the opening and the opening theme, I like it a lot, actually. I think it's a great, like, TV show opening credit sequences and stuff don't have to be shots of the show.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to talk about stuff that they talk about in the show, right? They show, like, the fractal, like, ball cloning thing. You get a shot of that little pendant, like a little stylized look at that pendant. There's a tree and growing and rebirth and fracturing and all this kind of stuff that is like stuff that themes that they're talking about on the show.
Yeah.
So
I think it's okay.
I mean, I'm not like out here arguing that it's my favorite opening credit sequence.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I had some realizations too while we were doing this that we get some new episodes next time and they're directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Right. So I knew he directed some of the episodes of this show. I didn't know how many.
Yeah. And I didn't know this. They brought in Michael Chabon.
Don't know who that is.
Who's a pretty famous writer for like The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay or Telegraph Avenue. He's got like a lot of best-selling books. Wonder Boys.
Okay. Cool.
UCI graduate. Yay.
And he's a writer on this show?
Yeah, he's one of the main writers for all the episodes we just watched.
Oh, cool.
He is the main writer for the 2 later episodes. So I would assume that means he's kind of helming this thing.
That's cool. It's very cool. So we've gotten to the end of our 3 episodes here. Do you want to have any wrap thoughts about
Yeah,
Picard?
I think we should do a little bit of like wrap thoughts as the wood chipper starts outside here.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
I will say that I am enjoying this so far. I think after the first episode, I was kind of like, this isn't bad, but I don't really know where it's going. And then episode 2 and 3 picked it up for sure, and now I'm in.
I liked the first episode quite a bit because it was a view into who Picard had become. And I think if they had taken out all the mystery and they wanted to do 3 hours of what happened in the first episode with no follow-up happening, he wasn't going to join and into space. If they had just written a show about him retiring to a farm and his doctor telling him his disease was going to get him, and we got like 3 hours of him coming to grips on Earth with the fact that he was never going to get back to space, which was what that first episode kind of had that feeling of.
Yeah, it did, for sure.
I would watch that, too. So that first episode didn't bother me at all.
I wasn't bothered by it. It's just I wasn't... There was so much, like, just exposition in that first episode.
Sure, yeah.
That it got in the way of it being enjoyable.
It got in the way of it being anything other than exposition.
Yeah.
After, like the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes was a good set piece. And then it was like, lore dump.
The show.
Take a break. Go somewhere else. Lore dump. Which is fine. They have to catch you up. It was gonna happen.
Right. Again, I'm not mad about it. I was just saying that it made the episode less enjoyable.
Okay.
And then, now that I had all the lore,
yeah,
now episodes 2 and 3 were great.
I really like where it's headed. I love the like... I'm in it for the swing that they're making of like, hey, the Romulans have a big problem. The Romulans are still around, and they have another big problem that they're not telling anyone about that Starfleet's embroiled in. And like, there's this big plot that we're developing underneath the surface. And like, I have some theories, and we could talk about them if you want, but like, I have some theories, and it's like good enough of a mystery that we're headed into like some cool territory here, and Picard's going to be in space. And I hope it's as narrative as we get into space as it has been so far, and there's not like a bunch of random episodes of side plot that don't go anywhere.
I don't see how they could do too much based on how the show has been.
Yeah.
It feels like it would be tough for them to do like episode of the week type stuff, because there isn't, like, they only have one purpose for being out there. So if they start doing like random side stuff, you're going to wonder, why aren't they focusing on the thing that is the thing?
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows?
I'm having a little bit of trouble with the melodrama. They need to take it down a notch.
This is the Romulans being Romulans. I
guess so.
I don't mind it.
Okay.
It is a lot though.
It's a lot. I need more clarification on what's up with Rafi.
Sure, yes, also agreed, 100%.
I need that to get into the character of Rafi, because She's obviously going to be part of the crew here. I got the distillation of who Rios's character is immediately.
Right.
I got who Dr. Girardi is very easily. And like, there's a deeper well there with each of those characters. Like, are we going to find out more about Rios's other ship? Are we going to find out Rios is a Starfleet plant? Are we going to find out, Dr. Girardi is actually working for Commodore O, or at least reporting to her or something?
Right. Who knows? Yeah.
So those kinds of things are open-ended.
What was Dr. Girardi's relationship with Maddox, that guy?
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Like, is there more that she hasn't told Picard? Like, actually, I helped him design these.
Yeah, dude. Who knows?
Like, I really need to see them because actually I helped design them. And so we got the characters in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. But the backstory they tried to create between Picard and Raffi is disjointed because pieces are missing. And we're left with a Picard that doesn't make sense and a Raffi that doesn't make sense, because with the Picard we knew, he wouldn't have just let her hang out to dry for 14 years, especially when he took in Romulan refugees.
Right.
So
exactly. So I think there's going to be another shoe that drops in their backstory somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what it is. But until it drops, it's going to be tough for me to be all the way on with her character, for sure.
It's got to drop, but we'll figure it out. It's there. I like where they're headed. I really can't wait to see more of this, what's going on with the Borg thing.
Yeah, man.
It's going to be good. I got a good impression from these 3 episodes. A lot of good impression. It's less Star Trek than Discovery is, which is funny because people complain about how Discovery doesn't feel like Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, like, I haven't seen a saucered anything.
But, I think the stuff that is Star Trek-y about this show is now going to start, right? We have gotten to the part where they have now gone out into space. Star Trek can begin, right?
Okay.
Like, because all of it was taking place on Earth and, they were moving around between locations and stuff, it definitely felt disjointed and not like a Star Trek show,
Yeah.
I think intentionally, right, in most of these cases.
Sure.
But the thing that brought me in more was definitely those shots of go out to the Borg and there's this mystery with them and all that Romulan stuff out there. So you got more of that like original Star Trek feel by peppering in that stuff.
I mean, Hugh really tied it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, okay, here's Hugh and we're doing some Borg stuff. And that to me was like, all right.
And they don't like acknowledge who he is, really.
No.
Like, they name him as Hugh.
They name him as Hugh.
Like,
that's it.
If you didn't know that and watch those Picard episodes, go back to Star Trek. Now that you've been spoiled on all this, go back to our episode 15 Subspace transmission about how you prepare for this show and learn who Hugh is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. I'm curious if they will get into that later, because obviously stuff is up with him. He has 2 different color eyes. There's like a whole patch over his face and all kinds of stuff. So
I kind of assumed that was like when he got his implants and stuff removed, they gave him a LaForge eye.
Oh, probably that's what it is. Yeah, but like they didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
And you got to know the Romulans are going to care, obviously, right? So
yeah.
We'll see. I'm curious to see how this will go, and I have been loving it so far.
I definitely am less apprehensive than I was after the first 3 episodes of Discovery.
Yeah. Yes, fair.
I ended up liking Discovery good
I was
amount.
going to say, we got to a pretty good place by the end of season 1 of Discovery.
Well, yeah, because of the cool ISS twist.
Well, but yeah, I mean, like it made the show fun.
It did. It certainly did.
So I think the Discovery ended in a good place for us who have not seen season 2 yet.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see where Picard keeps going. And then
I like how open-ended the mystery is here, because it gives them wide latitude to stick the landing, which they're going to have to do in a show with Jean-Luc Picard in it.
Right. I think interestingly, though, like the mystery is so big, they could spin this for a couple seasons. Like they don't have to wrap it all up.
I think what we're going to end up having happen here is we'll solve the Starfleet portion of the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
and possibly even the Romulan portion of the mystery. And considering that they're bringing Guinan back in season 2, we will be left with some more Borg stuff to do.
Certainly.
Right?
I think the connection between the Borg and the synthetic stuff is not going to be resolved.
No.
And then the question of whether the Romulan stuff gets resolved, I think, is also a question.
Resolved might not be the right word. At least revealed what the Romulan stuff is.
Yeah. Maybe they will reveal it. They're not necessarily going to resolve it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Where do you think they're headed? Do you want to do a little light prediction as we end here?
I don't know that I have any good ideas about where I think they're going to go. Do
you think the Romulans are a bunch of Cylons?
Oh, do I think like the Romulans are actually synthetic and that's the twist?
They don't have computers that do anything other than compute because they're all synthetic.
That would be a very big haha gotcha twist.
Well, it would be considering everyone thought Romulans and Vulcans were the same.
I don't know that I think that's the case, but maybe the Jod Vash are. Or something like that, right? Not all Romulans, but maybe just these ultra secret ones.
Sure, but if the Romulans created their own supernova to wipe out those synthetic that could be a pretty big sweeping try.
Yeah, sure. If that's the story, that would be cool. I would be interested to hear how they write that if that's what it is. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to hear more Subspace transmissions, where would you go?
You can find this podcast on your favorite podcasting services: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever fine podcasts are distributed, even on our website, which is weweregamers.com. And you can email us at an email address, which is podcast@weweregamers.com. We are also on social media at weweregamers on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever that is. And you can look us up on YouTube. Just check a search for We Were Gamers. And you can listen to this very podcast there and subscribe to that YouTube channel. It really helps us out.
You can use the playlist function to even just listen to these if you wanted to.
Yeah, hopefully Andrew is a great person and breaks these ones out for those of you who have trouble following them. And there's a nice playlist on YouTube of just the Star Trek stuff. So if you don't want to get involved in that main podcast of ours that we also do, and you just want Star Trek, here you go. All
right, so I think we'll take a month to watch more of this.
Yeah, we're going to watch more for sure.
And then we will catch up. How many episodes is it supposed to be?
I want to say 8 or 10. I don't know which.
10. No, that's the second season. First season will consist of 10. 10 episodes, and second season, 10 episodes. Okay. So 10 episodes. So we'll probably do 3 or 4 next month, and then 3 or 4 the month after that, depending on how many we get through.
Yep.
So it'll be big chunks like this.
It's going to depend on when we record relative to when it goes out, and that's just going to be is what it is.
Yep. But I think it's fun to do it in big chunks because it
is.
We probably could have spent a while on the first episode and the setting and stuff like that, but ultimately I think it's better to do in chunks because then you get big sweeping story arcs that you can kind of connect to each other.
Yeah. And maybe we don't have to be as detailed as we were this time, but
yeah, well, exploring a new universe, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about for sure.
All right.